Aloha, this is your astrologer, Tom, and let's dive in talking a little bit about the houses. So, the houses in astrology, of course, reflect where the energy is taking effect, right? So, they're often considered areas of life, and they're even more than that. They're definitely more than that. Everything in your life can actually be identified to be one house in particular. So, whatever you have going on, a particular person in your life or a particular area of your life can always be mapped back to a particular house. And so I want to talk a little bit about some house concepts here. So the first one is external versus internal. So houses 1 through 6 are considered internal houses or personal houses. Houses 7 through 12 are considered external houses or the collective houses. So if you think of the ascendant and descendant that forms a line. So the line straight across the middle. So basically 9 o'clock on the clock dial, 3 o'clock on the clock dial forms a line right where the purple and blue come together. And that's the horizon. That's the horizon. What's above the horizon, houses 7 through 12, is external. It's external to us. What's below the horizon, houses 1 through 6, is internal and personal. It's basically related to us. Okay, it's related to us. This is helpful because often if we want to figure out whether it's something that we need to do within or whether it's something we need to take action on in the external world, this is a common component of that. When in my readings, depending on where people's what I call soul journey planets, sun, moon, north node, south node, Chiron, where they fall, whether they fall internal or external, whether the nodal path is going internal to external or external to internal, makes a difference. So this is definitely one to be aware of. So what's this have to do with houses? Is because it's giving you an indication as to whether the energy is meant to be applied in the external world or whether it's meant to be assimilated inside, depending on which house you're looking at. Another way we can split this is we can look left and right. On the left, you have sowing. On the right, you have reaping. So the idea here is, effectively, you're planting seeds 10 through 3, houses 10 through 3 to some degree, and you're reaping the fruits of your labor in 4 through 9 to some degree. And the idea here is if somebody has a lot of planets, like more than 5 on the sowing side, generally they have a number of different options available to them with different things to do in life. And what they're learning is picking something to stick with. If somebody has a lot of planets on the reaping side, generally more than 5 on the reaping side, pretty much a lot of things will keep coming back to the same path over and over and over again. And they just actually have to do it. The path that keeps finding them, so to speak. Okay. And if it's 5 and 5, then there's opportunity, and there's also opportunity to benefit. And that's where it really comes down to. We have to look at some other things in the chart to get a really good idea there. So another way we can break down the houses is actually into quadrants. So the first quadrant, houses 1 through 3, represent development of the individual. Okay. They represent the development of you, the individual. Houses 4 through 6 in the second quadrant are your expression. So you're refining the individual. As you remember, houses 1 through 6 form the internal side of the chart. So here we're both developing and expressing basically who we are. Then as we begin to get into the external side of the chart, houses 7 through 12, the third quadrant, the red quadrant here, is houses 7, 8, and 9. That's expansion. It's a relationship with one. So now we, not necessarily romantic, although it is, it's learning how to interact with another individual. It's so as we cross that line where the red and purple meet, we go from the 6th house into the 7th. It's like our beginning foray into the external world, and we're learning to relate with another individual. Then in the fourth quadrant, the green quadrant here, houses 10, 11, and 12, is transcendence. It's connecting with many. So that's why we have friends and groups and associations and our career and all sorts of other things there. So that's another way we can break it down. We can also break it down in another way, which is uncommon but very powerful. So I often do not see this method, but it does come up, and it's actually a very powerful situation here. In the grouping of 4 houses, you have houses 1 through 4. The blue section here is the personal section, so the identity of you, the individual, but much more what's personal to you. Then you have houses 5 through 8, the purple section, which is the social, you and another one, you and another individual. Whether it's relating or expressing, connecting, being in a relationship, that kind of thing. Then you have houses 9 through 12, universal, the us, the group. Okay. So we begin looking at the houses from different perspectives here. Knowing that then gives us an awareness into each of the houses. And so we'll take a look at the 12 houses now. So the first house, well, if it's internal, sowing, developmental, individual, and personal, and it's also the first house, it's your identity of you. It's basically you figuring out you, the basics of you. Okay. The second house, you're doing a little bit more refinement with that. Money, needs, resources, values. So you're figuring out a little bit more about you. It's still internal, sowing, developmental, individual, and personal. Okay. So you're beginning to that's why it's like, now, okay, what do you need to be able to survive, but also what's important to you in life, and what are the things that you have as a result. So basically, that's how that plays out. In the third house, internal, sowing, developmental, individual, personal still. And what we have is you're interacting with the environment. It's the concrete mind. Contrast that to the ninth house later, which is the abstract mind. So you're interacting with the environment, concrete mind, communication. So you're beginning to just, like I said, you're beginning to interact with the environment now. So you've gone from your awareness of you to some form of understanding as to what you have, to then being able to connect with the environment. The fourth house, internal, reaping, expression, refinement, personal. So a little bit different. And here it's home, soul, roots, and how we settle back into ourselves. So sometimes people will relate to it differently, in the sense of, for some it's more like the home, for some it's more like roots. There's a saying in astrology that we come in through the fourth and we go out through the fourth. So there's a soul connection there. And really, our home, and that axis, the 4-10 axis, is like the home and career axis. So finding that harmony between home and career. So here we're beginning to express. Here we're beginning to do even more refinement. So less developmental, less individual, and more expression and refinement. Then we get into the fifth house, which is internal, reaping, expression, refinement, social, same as the fourth. And this is now moving that further along. So creativity, self-expression, being in our identity. We basically know that we can be whatever it is we want to be at that point. We have this identity, we have this awareness, to some degree, that we may have all of these possibilities known to us, and then we need to have some sort of awareness of the boundaries of those experiences. And so that brings us into the sixth house then. So with the sixth house, internal, reaping, expression, refinement, and social. And it's, our daily work, our habits, mind and body connection. It provides structure to the fifth. So if the fifth is basically, you can do whatever it is, you can achieve whatever it is you want. You can express however, whatever's true to you. The sixth kind of puts some structure to that, often considered daily work, habits, and that type of thing. Then moving into the seventh, we have external, reaping, expansion, relationship with one, and social. So again, the first house now on the external side of the chart. So romantic relationships, awareness of others, one-on-one clients. It's also the opposite of the first house. So it could be who you think you're not. If the first house is who you think you are, the seventh house, then who you think you're not. And the awareness of that, because keep in mind, you are the whole chart. You are the whole chart. So the seventh house comes up a lot for me when I work one-on-one with my own clients, but also helping people who work with one-on-one clients themselves, and also romantic relationships. What I would say here too is, from a romantic relationship perspective, we meet our partner from the fifth house, and then after we've basically commenced the relationship, then the energy moves into the seventh. And so often if I'm working with clients who go through a relationship experience, they're like, well, why did things change after we made the relationship official physically? Well, because the energy of the fifth house is where you meet, and the energy of the seventh is after that particular experience. So here, what you're doing is beginning to, relate to others. You have an awareness of others. And so you're beginning to move that who you are into the external world there. Then in the eighth house, often we consider the seventh and eighth related to marriage, the eighth related to marriage more so. But it's how the eighth house is how we share and unite with others. So the eighth house says a lot about how two people in a relationship are going to interact, along with a few other things. And in my relationship readings, we spend a lot of time on the different variables that could come up for a particular relationship. In the eighth house, so how we share, unite with others, marriage, the three basic energies, creation, transformation, completion, they come up in the eighth house as well. Moving along to the ninth house then. So after we've had experiences where we transform, those transformational experiences from the eighth house give us a much broader perspective. And so the ninth house is often related to philosophy, spirituality, and as I said, the abstract mind. So it's the bigger picture mind, it's the broader perspective. Often those transformational experiences come from the eighth house. And so they bring with it a set of learnings and a much broader perspective. And then that's ninth house energy. And I haven't overlaid the signs on these houses, but if you're familiar with the natural wheel, the eighth house is commonly associated to Scorpio. And so by the time we get to the ninth house, philosophy, perspective, which is more Sagittarius, you have this scorpionic experience, this transformational experience that may not have been the easiest to navigate. And then that gives you the opportunity to see the bigger picture, the Sagittarian experience of the ninth house. Moving along then, the 10th house, external sowing, transcendence, connection with many and universal. Whatever the ninth house then envisions, the 10th house is work towards bringing it into the physical, right? Often related to careers. So in other words, you have a purpose, you have truth, your own personal truth, the universal truths, things that you find to be true for you, your own personal philosophy, your own the philosophy that you relate with, and then you're going to do something with that. So you have so for example, the transformational experience occurs in the eighth. You get a broader perspective on that with the ninth, and you're going to go do something with it. You're going to make something happen with it in the external world. That comes from the 10th, right? So you're able to do something tangible. 10th house often related to Capricorn. You're doing something to bring it into the physical world. Then moving along to the 11th house. With the 11th house here, it's actually beyond ourselves at that point. So then once we've been able to go through these experiences, this self-identity, this awareness with another individual, then we go through transformational experiences, we get a broader perspective, we go do something with that broader perspective to create something in the physical world. Well, then what? Well, now this actually begins to help us continue to connect more with spirit, because what we're doing is we're going beyond ourselves, friends, groups, belief systems, knowledge, and connection, but really connection through the mind. So unique ideas, things that might be ahead of their time, but they're more in the mind. They're more air energy. Okay, they're less of less of the practical sense, so to speak, and less of the heart and soul, which we'll see with the 12th house. So in here, that connection is then beyond ourselves in these friends groups, different belief systems, and really a stimulation of our mind and an awareness of other knowledge, or at least coming out with other knowledge, unique ideas, that type of thing. And then moving into the 12th, is there's a sense of believing at this point. There's a sense of merging with greater purpose. So this is where so if the 11th house is knowledge, the 12th house is belief. Okay. And this is connecting with our heart, connecting with our soul, less about connecting with our mind. So the 12th house often related to Pisces. And then as a result of this, what we're doing is through connection, letting go of that to some degree. We know how our individuality relates into the world now, and now we really begin to realize that there's something much greater than even whatever it is that you've experienced at that point. So it really wants to take it further. Often the 12th house is considered what's hidden from view, and it's also kind of both realms, the physical world that we're in and the esoteric realm. And so, having that awareness actually can help you realize that if somebody has, let me use this example. Somebody has their sun in the 12th, for example, they may not see how they shine because it may be hidden from view. And if they have a Mercury in their 12th, hold on a second. If they have their sun in their 12th, they may need others to kind of help guide them and show them and kind of reflect back their own light, and then they begin to see it. With Mercury in the 12th, for example, somebody's mind might be thinking about all sorts of ideas that don't even feel like they belong on this planet, right? So this is taking ideas that are even beyond, even beyond what you could imagine. So that's the basics of the 12 houses. I like to use this method of going through it a little bit, because it begins to show, if you look at it from a grouping perspective, it gives you a lot more insight into the houses when you're reading it, and especially if you know how they connect to the houses that are around them. So if you do have any questions or comments about this, please put them below. If you like this video and would like to see more like it, please subscribe. And as always, aloha, ahui ho. I'll talk with you again soon. Take care.